Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 242 of The Ball is Round. My name is Andy Coronado, and tonight on the show, we'll discuss Roses FC loss to the Vancouver Rise and the Canadian men's national team loss versus Australia at Stade Saputo. As always, I'm joined tonight by my man, Elias Grigoriadis. Elias, it's a weekend of losses, man. I mean, we're not even.
It's a piss poor week, man.
I'm not even gonna get into forget about talking anything right now. It's just losses. Man, it feels heavy.
Horrifying week. No. The only team of mine that I follow that you see on the little flags here, that actually won a game was Barcelona's women's team. Shout out Femini, the only people keeping me going right now. And even then, it's not a win because your star striker tears her ACL. So
Oh, jeez.
can't have shit this week. It's one of those weeks you just chalk it up to soccer gods hate me and they want me to be miserable. And so here I am.
Oh my god, no, me. Well, look, I also follow the Peruvian national team. Besides, obviously, CF Montreal and the Canadian men's national team. Peru lost against Chile. They're way eliminated out of the World Cup, but they still lost against Chile. I'm just like,
Was Thomas Julienets?
the what?
Was Thomas Julienets at least?
No. Imagine that would have been a win. No, but no, it's just anyways. It's just been a
Hey, at
rough
least Dante
weekend.
Sealy scored again.
Yay! Somebody wins. But but look, guys. Before we get into the show, you guys, it's a special one because in the spirit of Thanksgiving, we wanted to just take a second to thank you guys for your support and for tuning in with us every week. We love you. We thank you. And we can't wait to continue doing this show to show you guys our gratitude. Those of you who are with us tonight, we thank you. And those of you who will watch us later, that's okay. We thank you too. But that's all I wanted to show. Just a little shout out to our listeners, Elias, for thanking them for everything they do for us. But before we get started and get right into all the subjects that we have for today, just a quick reminder that if you listen to the show and you like what you hear /see, click on the subscribe button to support The Ball is Round. While you're at it, make sure to also subscribe to all of our social media platforms for daily updates. I cannot talk. We're on Twitter. We're on X, on Blue Sky, on Facebook, on
We're
YouTube.
on Twitter. No one calls it X.
I'm so outdated. I am so.
Stop calling it X. You sound like a Fed.
I'm canceled. All right, so let's get right into it. We're gonna start with the Canada men's national team loss versus Australia. 0-1. Elias, you were at the game. Okay, before we get into the details of the game, it's been since 2017 that they haven't played in Stade Saputo. Just tell me a little bit. It was sold out. They announced it the day before that it was sold out. Can you maybe tell us a little bit, how was that? What was the vibe? What was it like?
This was guaranteed to be sold out like the second they announced it. Same thing with the game in June, right? The go home game. It's going to be a sold out, guaranteed, and that one's probably going to have. Hopefully, has an even higher level opponent. They struggled with 25th in the world, but hopefully it's a top 10 team in the world. I think that's what Canada's aiming for, and that's what they should aim for. It's going to be sold out as well. The vibes were fantastic. Again, it doesn't have the raucousness of a CF Montreal game that's sold out because there it's a much more, familiar environment and much more familiar chants, stuff like that. But one of the convenient things about it is actually the fact that Canada and Montreal kind of flow the same. So a lot of the chants just have Montreal in it. They just put Canada in it. They just cut and pasted, put Canada in it. And so it came out fine. But honestly, from just in terms of ambiance, spectacular. Stade Saputo and Montreal, once again, pound for pound, the best atmosphere in North America, or at least in Canada and the US. And once again, they showed it because it was fantastic. It was honestly spectacular. And once again, the Stade Saputo crowd is the best thing about the entire evening.
Classic. You hear it on TV. It's not just about being in the stadium. You hear it.
We had the plexiglass, and you could feel it in your chest.
It's a special stadium. Anybody that's visited that's visiting from another country or visiting to see their away team has always said, "Hey man, too bad we won, or too awesome that we too bad we lost, or too bad we won, whatever it is." But at the end of the day, the experience at Stade Saputo has always been the same. It's an incredible stadium. It feels very familiar, and they love it. And while we're at it, I did want to go ahead and give a quick shout out to Joe Malo, who was our raffle winner this week and went to the game on Friday night and sent us a picture. And just at the same time, wanted to thank all of you who participated in the raffle, and we look forward to continuing bringing in plenty of surprises like this. But yeah, a shout out to Joe Malo, and thank you so much for giving us a shout out while you're at the game. So besides that, outside the field, there were some important figures that were present, including FIFA President Gianni Infantino and Mark Carney, with Joey Saputo. I want to give my take on this because the question one asks is like, oh, they're just figures and all that. Like, and I always ask myself, like, how important is it? Maybe it's just me that sees this. And again, Elias, we're not a political show here. I'm not here to talk politics. That's not what it at all. But they are still big figures in the soccer world. At least Gianni Infantino and well, the Prime Minister of Canada being there as well. And I just felt seeing them there was very important, and just because of the growth of soccer in the city of Montreal, the importance that is being placed into friendly games like this against an opponent like Australia. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an anecdote. Yesterday, I had some friends over, and I told them, and I told my friend that doesn't follow CF Montreal, doesn't follow Canada soccer. It's just a person that lives here and does whatever that may be. I told them, well, look, yesterday the Canada men's national team played, and Mark Carney was there with Joey Saputo and Gianni Infantino. Now, this person obviously knows all these three names, and they said, "Oh," his reaction was, "Oh, are they bringing us a World Cup game here?" And it's the reason why I bring up this anecdote is because of the importance of these three gentlemen. Well, Joey Saputo, everybody knows, and the importance of their presence in that. Did you take anything away from that? Did it mean anything to you to see these three figures at the game on Friday?
Nope.
Okay.
No, I honestly, it's like,
yeah.
it's PR for the Prime Minister. Obviously, Joey Saputo is going to want to jump on the fact that the national team is in his city, in his stadium. So obviously he's going to be there. And I don't know why Gianni Infantino was there. Maybe some news will come of it later. But honestly, with the way that the city has responded, the city and the province have responded to the World Cup as an entire concept, I have no reaction to that.
Yeah.
I've been beat senseless with shitty news about the World Cup in Montreal. So you know what? If news happens, cool. If it doesn't happen, fucking what else is new? So yeah, I saw them pop up on the screen. I was like, Jesus Christ. And yeah, all three of them got booed out of the building, which is kind of funny.
All right, but the point being is, yes, and that's something that to me has stood out to me, right? Like, we have these three big figures, but at the same time there were no Quebec reps. And now I want to we never spoke about it in this show, but Alexander Pratt of La Presse came out with an article I want to say maybe a month ago now, or a few weeks back, about some of the incidents that had happened here in Quebec, where they clearly showed, past political figures clearly showed that they didn't really make an effort to support the growth of sports. I'm going to say sports, not soccer, except of course hockey. And then now you're having these political figures show up, but no Quebec representatives again. Now that to me is a big punch in the gut. Kind of like you said, Elias, you're used to it. I've been beat senseless. Makes absolute sense. Maybe I haven't been beat senseless enough yet.
No, definitely
not. To still feel a little light at the end of the tunnel. But it's still a punch in the gut to say, guys, like, what else do you want? Like, what are we doing? So to me, it's very surprising. I think Quebec needs to get their act together in that sense. And again, it's not just about soccer, CF Montreal. I'm not focusing on that. I'm focusing about sports. Sports is such an important part of any person's growth in general that I believe it should be a main focus in any country, not because it's Canada or Quebec. So this was a big punch in the gut, seeing that. Again, it's elections time, and a lot of people are probably doing, like you mentioned, PR stuff and all that. But just being present would have been, I think, a big important part of it. But we're beyond that. We're a soccer show. We talk about soccer. I wanted to get my piece, Elias. You're more than welcome to not say anything. But I just felt that it was important to mention how much that angered me to see that, and to see that this city continues to stumble and punch itself in the gut.
Every day you become more and more of a Montrealer, Andy.
Yes,
just the tip of the iceberg, baby. It's only getting worse.
I'm sorry, it's
only getting worse. Don't worry about
it. So yeah, Robbie's joining us. Hi guys, happy Thanksgiving. Thankful for many things, including your show. Robbie, we're thankful for you, your participation, and being so involved with this show. But yeah, so we're gonna move on to the game. Let's go ahead and pop up that lineup.
Yes.
So at goalkeeper, we had Monsieur Maxime Crépeau. We had Richie Larea at left back. We had Cornelius and Joel Waterman at center back. Mr. Segura at right back, right? And we had Nathan Saliba, Ismael Kone in the midfield. Oh my God, why does it sound like I'm doing a podcast in 2022? And Ali Ahmed on the left wing, I want to say, and Buchanan on the right wing, Jonathan David and Salarin on the top. And then, yeah, and what were your thoughts when you see this? We knew Maxime Crépeau because of the press conference was going to start. That we knew.
Kone and Crépeau were the two confirmed before the game at the press conference. Everyone else was kind of up in the air. Why the fuck is Kyle Larin still getting starting minutes? Is what I want to know.
Terrible.
It genuinely have no idea why when you have Daniel Wasehi and Promise David, who are both in the form of their lives, just there. And more experience. It's a friendly. I don't give a shit about experience, so I don't understand why he's there. It's clear that he was not that involved in the game, so my concerns and my worries from before the game were immediately confirmed, and then throughout the entire hour that he was out there, basically just got worse and worse. So I mean, look, it is what it is. I hope he doesn't make the. I find a nice way to say this. I don't think he should be in the roster to go to the World Cup. Will he be? Probably, just because Jesse Marsh plays in a 4-4-2 and you need more strikers than if you play with a lone man up top. Just more people in your roster, but I just don't think he's good enough. In his current form and his age and just what is asked of him, I don't think he's got what it takes. I don't think he's got the level. And especially when you have someone like Promise David, who can do everything that Kyle Larin does better, and then a bunch of stuff that Kyle Larin could never do. I just think I don't understand why he's still starting. Everyone except for that was pretty much the strongest starting 11, except Chouanière probably has something to say about that. Eustachio has something to say about that second midfield spot. But besides that, injuries notwithstanding, this is the strongest 11 you're going to get. So I was pretty happy with that.
Which kind of gets me to Hattie's hot take. Hattie Raphael always sends us his hot takes after game. And one of his hot takes said, Kyle Larin should not start anymore. So he agrees with you. And Mathieu Chouanière should be ahead of Saliba.
These are not hot takes. These are correct.
I
mean, look, Mathieu Chouanière Mathieu Chouanière is in better form right now. Mid-season form, late season form, if you will. Nathan Saliba has a much higher ceiling, I think, based on what he's shown, based on the fact that he's like 5 years younger than him. I think there's not 5, like 3 or 4 years younger than him. I think there's a lot of upside to Nathan Saliba, and I think that in the future, by the time the next World Cup rolls around, he will be the starter, the undisputed starter. But yeah, I think Mathieu Chouanière right now in the pecking order brings more and probably fills the requirements to play next to someone like Ismael Kone. But that doesn't mean I didn't like Nathan Saliba the game. I thought he was rock solid.
I think Jesse Marsh will always prefer a selection of somebody that's playing in Europe rather than somebody that's playing in MLS. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something more to it. But that's the only thing that would make sense to me.
Joel Waterman started over Luc de Fougerolles. So, I mean, and Joel Waterman's had, by his standards, a terrible season. But he's still starting over Luc de Fougerolles, who's having a very good season. So, I mean, I don't think that's always the case. Daniel will say he was starting when he was still in Minnesota over Promise David and Kyle Larin. So, I mean, like, yeah, I think going to Europe gets you probably a better look from Jesse Marsh. But I still think the MLS guys are putting up a good fight.
I want to know, how big does Promise David look in
Promise David is an absolute mammoth, and like you don't realize when you see him on TV, then you see him run on the field, and he is just like, what if Josie Altidore was quicker, just as strong and thinner, and obviously like way better at soccer, but just like that entire that hulking presence, that overwhelming presence that Josie Altidore has, but you know, technically better and in better conditioning and all that
Because
stuff.
the way you see him on TV, he is a tank. He is a tank.
He's even more impressive in the flesh. A lot of these guys are more impressive in
Yeah,
person, right?
yeah.
I hadn't seen Ismail Kone play live in 3 years, and oh my god, has he gone so much better, right? Ismail Kone is floating, right? He was the best player on the pitch for me by far. He is orders of magnitude better than everyone on the field. And he's so cool, and on the ball, you can't get it off him. You can't get it off him.
Yeah.
So maybe he has to give the ball away because you can't take it off him. He's too strong. He's too quick. He's too technically sound. He's so good. It's incredible to see. Like you saw a lot of it in 2022. You saw a lot of that Ismail Kone, and it's like everything has just been dialed up. So it's the exact same Ismail Kone that we saw in Montreal, but everything is just better. And I can't wait to see what the next step is, because at Sassuolo, it's going well now. And if he keeps improving on this trajectory and he keeps staying out of trouble, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, the big ifs, right? Because it does seem like every time there is an if with Ismail Kone, unfortunately. Robbie tells us, "Yep, he is big, man. I was at the match and you notice how big he is."
This Promise David, but yeah, that is a specimen, you know.
Oh my God, I was like, I remember,
like he steps on the field, you're like, damn, the man.
Bring in 2 new defenders because we're out. But look, so overall, your thoughts of the game, just to give me a quick summary. What did you think? Were you happy, upset, wanted more? What were some of your thoughts of the game?
I was happy with a lot of the stuff I saw in terms of transitioning quickly from defense into the attacks. It's what they do best, right? It's getting out wide and getting forward very quickly, capitalizing on spaces that they found. What I don't love is what has been a problem for them for a while now, is the low block. When you play in a flat 4-4-2, or in their case, Jonathan David, he sags off a little bit and plays almost like a false 9 next to a proper striker. It's still a 4-4-2. Let's call a spade a spade. And it's incredibly static at times. And so what Australia did was they stacked the midfield. They said, you're not bringing us down through there. If you're going to want to do it, it has to be one-on-one on the wings. That's the only way, is through the flanks and one-on-one situations. And Tejan Buchanan had a couple good looks. Ali Ahmed was all right, but there was not enough penetration. And again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but when Kyle Larin is the one who's receiving all this, there's not a whole lot of movement. There's not a whole lot of danger there. He had a free header and he just missed the entire ball on a beautiful free kick from Ali Ahmed, by the way. He just missed the ball completely, right? So it's also a confidence thing now, right? Because I know for a fact that Kyle Larin is not a bad soccer player. He's the second leading goal scorer in Canadian history, right? But it's from a confidence perspective, and maybe just, past your prime perspective. If that's the guy that's on the receiving end of all the crosses and all the danger, it's not optimal.
Yeah. And look, I for me, like, a lot of times I felt like Canada had their chances, had their opportunities, but they simply didn't capitalize on it. I thought that they left a lot on the table for an Australian team that honestly hasn't been struggling. I don't think they've lost a game since last year. So they're not a bad team.
They've lost one game since March of 2024. In a year and a half, they've lost one game.
That's incredible. They're on hot form, and you can tell that they're a good team. I've never taken Australia as a serious team anytime in the past season, but they're clearly onto something, and you can see it. And I felt like they kind of played a game that maybe Canada hasn't been seeing that often in the past few matches. And they were very physical, and they also come with that kind of attitude of like, we're going to play our game, and regardless where we're at. But what I want to focus on now, because again, it doesn't feel good. This loss to me did not feel good. You mentioned that you saw a lot of things that you like, and I agree with you. There were some good things, but at the end of the day, it's still a loss, and it's a loss at what's considered home at Stade Saputo. but it felt like they left some points in the table. We had another Hattie hot take where he said there were a lot of, Hattie says, a lot of scoring chances created, which is very encouraging. I agree with him. That's encouraging, but it's still a loss, 0-1. So it almost feels like we're saying it over, and we've said this about CF Montreal. We've said this about Roses FC, Canada's men's, women's national team, where they played great. They did fantastic stuff all around, except score goals, which is the ultimate way you win games if you keep it basic. And they just didn't. And Robbie agrees with it. He said, Robbie says we had a few chances, but finishing could be better. I mean, what does Canada have to do? Like, what is it? A new striker? Is it a formation thing? Like, is it maybe a certain side that is underperforming? What do you think could?
I still don't. I've never been a big fan of the 4-4-2. I find it a little bit restrictive, especially when you have the talent that you have on this team. Your team is too talented to be stuck in a box like the 4-4-2, which is just flat. Whether I don't know what he wants to change it to, I still think a 4-3-3 utilizes all your players the most efficiently, and it gives people like Alistair Johnston, Alphonso Davies the freedom to run forward because your wingers are pushing up the field and they're not, so focused on the defense of it. But we're kind of beating around the bush here because at the end of the day, there were chances that you have to put them away, right? It's not. Yeah, do I think Jesse Marsh knocked that out of the park here? No. I think that with the players you had on the field and with the way that they play, they should have won. And they were in a position to win. They had more chances. They had more shots. They had more possession. They had a million more things. That means they should have won, but they didn't, right? So, I mean, how many times have we come on this podcast saying they had more shots and they had more chances and they didn't win at Saputo? Yeah, well, welcome to what happened 15 times this year already, right? Yeah. So it's not new. But now the problem is this a one-off? Because you're going to play Colombia on Tuesday, right? I want to talk about Colombia in a bit. But now you have to make sure that this is a one-off and not something that has to be actually addressed.
Yeah, and I think that's what matters is at some point, at least in my opinion, for especially where Canada men's national team is at right now and where they're heading, especially with the World Cup right around the corner. These kind of games where you say, oh, we should have done better or we did so many good things except score, that's not acceptable anymore. Not at this stage. Maybe a year ago, we're talking about, oh, they still have some time to figure it out, try out other players. No. These next few games are so crucial to let other teams know who are scouting Canada, this is who they are. This is what they do, and this is how they score. And they are unplayable. Promise David, can't stop him. And they are, whatever it may be. I'm just saying at this point, and this is why the Australia loss to me is a little heavier than I think a lot of people are seeing it. To me, it's important what happened. Let's talk a little bit more individual though. Was there any performance in particular that you liked? And on the other side of that, is there any performance that you didn't like in the game?
I mean, I talked about Kyle Aaron, right? So I made my feelings about him clear. Another guy that I didn't think was particularly any good or really gave anything at all was Richie Larea.
Yeah,
right there. He gives energy and he gives passion, and he's one of those heart and soul players. And I think he's gonna be super useful in the roster at the World Cup. But realistically, I would put obviously Alphonso Davies, but I would also put Nico Seeger above him on the left side. Because also Johnson has the right side locked up. That's his. Obviously, Alphonso Davies on the left. But if we're going on depth, the next one up for me is Nico Seeger, right? Mistake or not, mistake, whatever. It was a brain fart, but he's been fantastic the last 3 windows for Canada. So let's call it what it is, which is a one-off mistake, right? If it happens consistently, then obviously cause for concern. But he's given no indication that this is a regularly occurring thing. He's super reliable, and as far as I'm concerned, one oops, unreliable does not make. So I think that Richie Larea was far too passive. We got a question from Robbie about Waterman's game, and a lot of people were trashing Joel Waterman. I don't think he had a bad game.
I wasn't impressed. I didn't have a good one, bad one.
I wasn't impressed, but again, very few people really impressed me, right? Joel Waterman did his job, Joel Waterman, yeah, you want to get mad at him on the goal? Oh my god, yeah, Joel Waterman did not run a guy that is lightning quick. I think I don't remember who was the striker. I think it was Toure or something. Who has been running circles around everybody, by the way, all game. Yeah, Joel Waterman's not quicker than him, cool, but he didn't get beat, right? When you're a slower center back, your job is not to beat everybody in a foot race. Your job is to not get beat. The next person's job behind you is to not let the cross get all the way through. Luc de Fougerolles was kind of asleep. Nico Seeger obviously was asleep. Maxime Crépeau, unlucky, right? That's just unfortunate. But to say that Joel Waterman had a terrible game or a bad game or this is why he should have left, man. No, he was there. He was competent in possession. He was a good partner with Derek Cornelius. And I can't really think of a single moment where I'm like, oh, he doesn't belong on the field. So you know what? People have complaints with Joel Waterman, rightfully so. He's got elements to his game that need work, but he deserved to be out there as much as any other person on the field, which is a really good thing. So yeah, it was an adequate performance from Joel Waterman.
Yeah, and Robbie agrees with you. I agree with you, Elias. He was okay. He is what he is, though. Not a starter if everyone is healthy. I mean, look, at the end of the day,
Moise Bombito and Derek Cornelius are the starters, right? It's him versus Luc de Fougerolles for who's third. That's basically it.
Yeah, and that's something that to me it's, and I've said in this show a few times whenever we talk about any teams that play, the center back should not be the story of the game, should not be the MVP, in my opinion, should not be the guy winning trophies, because they have to do their jobs. And if they do come out to be the headlines, if usually the defenders are headliners, Elias, it's bad news. It's usually pretty bad news. So you, as long as you do your job right. But yeah, about the goal they gave up, that was just something that obviously very embarrassing, and something again that at this point, when you're this close to the World Cup, you just can't afford to make those kind of losses. How many times in previous World Cups in other countries have we seen them do little mental mistakes like that? And teams, nations that are looking to win the World Cup and are aiming, obviously have a lot of talent, will eat those mental mistakes up. So Canada really needs to clean up their act. Now, you said what you didn't like. Is there any particular player that you did like their performance?
Ismail Kone was awesome. He was fantastic. Off the bench, both Promise David and Daniel Osei gave a great example as to why they should be starting. But the most impressive, I think not necessarily impressive, but the most surprising one for me was Liam Miller, who just came back from ACL surgery, who I was never a huge fan of to begin with. I didn't think that he really had anything that put him a cut above the other wingers on the team to necessarily say, I deserve to be a starter. But he was excellent in the 25-30 minutes that he played. He was creating chances, he was taking people on, he was dribbling, he was on the right side for a winger who usually likes to, he's a righty, likes to be on the left and cut into the right. He was kind of out of position, and he was playing excellent. He was everywhere. So I was really happy with him. I was definitely surprised by him. But yeah, so Liam Miller, who again, ACL surgery, especially for a forward, is almost like a death blow, right? You lose your explosiveness. You're not really the same. He looked not just the same, he looked better. And so if this continues, I'd love to see him get a start against Colombia. I think he deserves to start on that left-hand side, give him a real go in his natural position, see what he can do. But yeah, he was super fun to watch. So chapeau to him because he was solid.
Yeah, for me, my top performance was Promise David, and I'm not saying necessarily because he played an excellent game. I'm not saying like what an excellent game or great kicks. No, I'm just saying as far as impactful in the game, the kind of impact as a sub that he came in and he changed the attack. That all of a sudden you saw Australia being like, oh shit, what just happened, right? Like they're like hey, we have to do something different. So that's why to me that's a top player. You give them 20 minutes, you give them 30, you give them 45, whatever time you give them, they're impactful during that moment and they change a game. Yep. That's what makes him the top player for me. But my least favorite performance was Richie Larios, 100%. And I'm not even talking about passes completed. It's not that. It's situational, Elias, because I'm not even talking. I'd rather give a Luca Petrasso in that case a chance. And I'll tell you why. Because you're down 0-1. You're playing at home. You need to be smart and mature. I don't know how old Richie Larea is, but at this point, I think he is considered kind of a veteran in the national team.
He's like 30 years old.
Exactly. And he behaved like a fucking child. I'm sorry. He behaved like so terribly as a player.
I mean, so did Joe Waterman there. Let's be honest.
But that's expected.
They,
I
they
don't
were
care.
they were. So is Richard Larea. It's
But
his own brand.
but Joel Waterman, I think that's also on Jesse March show. But and I'm getting maybe a
Yeah, I
little
don't know
thrown
what you're
off here.
thinking, putting both of them on
But
the same side of the defense. That's
no,
psychotic.
but at some point you just gotta feel it. You're like, dude, these guys are being a liability to my team right now because I'm trying to score goals and they're wasting more time with the refs stopping fights. Like, get them out. Get them out of the game. Like, to replace them with anybody, literally, because it's all fun and games if you're winning 5-0 and you're kind of showing that attitude, that swagger if you want. But when you're down 0-1 and you just need to give yourself more scoring chances and you're in the, I don't know, 89th minute, 91st minute, and you're spending more time fighting than kicking the ball, then there's an issue. And that's the issue I had with Richie Larea specifically. Again, I'm not talking about performances, but it's about moments. And if in the World Cup 2026 he's going to come up with that shit again, then Canada's going to have serious problems. And as you mentioned, maybe it's about, like, just players being injured and he just is in the right time, right place. But for me, he was disastrous. And not, again, because of the whole game, but because in moments that you need him to behave like a true professional, he didn't behave like one. And that's a problem. That was my take on the my least favorite performance of the game. So just to kind of talk about it here, because before we get into Colombia, there were some homecomings for some of the players, including Nathan Saliba, Mathieu Chouanière, Ismael Kone, and, as we mentioned a bunch of times, Joel Waterman. He's only been out for a few months, but it's still homecoming for him, playing at Stade Saputo.
Yeah.
What was it like seeing those guys back in their old stomping grounds?
Oh, it was so cool for them. I feel two people I feel really bad for are Kamal Miller and Zoran Basang. Because those are two guys that came through Montreal. I mean, Zoran Basang literally came through Montreal. He's a Montrealer. But Kamal Miller was, again, he was there for 2 years. He was part of that 2022 team. He didn't leave on the best of terms or in the best of shape, but it would have been nice to just get him on there, right? I get it. It's a friendly. You're trying to be as competitive as possible, but just it's your first game in 8 years. Give some of the Quebecers a little bit of love, especially because there's unlimited subs. I don't know why Richie Larea played 90 minutes, for example, right? I don't know why Derek Cornelius played 90. Oh, did he play? No. You take off Joel Waterman, you put Kamal Miller on. It's nice. It's easy. Straight swap, right?
They both get their clap. They both get their claps.
They both get their little moment, like Saliba and Chouanière.
Like Saliba and Chouanière. Who are you clapping for? Everybody.
Exactly, right? So I do feel kind of bad for them because they didn't get their chance. But it was so nice. I saw them get out of the bus, and I was like, I forget what you look like as a real person. I saw Mathieu Chouanière at the press conference before on the Thursday before the game. I was like, oh my god, that's true. You're like an actual functioning human being that I used to see like every week. And I haven't seen you in a year. But so it's nice for them to get their moment, but it's also kind of nice because these are people that were incredibly important to the club and incredibly important to Montreal soccer, Quebec soccer, and you get to see them in the flesh as well. So it was nice both ways.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was a very special moment. I saw it on TV. I don't know what the Stade Saputo was like, but
it was electric. It was awesome.
Mathieu Chouanière and Nathan Saliba,
when they announced that sub, they may as well have scored. It was just exploded. It was great.
Yeah, and they needed that. I think it was important for the players because I've heard a lot of people. I've spoken to a lot of people close to Mathieu and Nathan, and they've told me that it really, really did hurt them a lot, and understandably so. They're human beings too, just like you and I, and it did hurt them that they didn't have that opportunity to leave, in their own terms. That's a Saputo, have that last goodbye game, and that was special for that. Whatever it may be, it might be awkward, it might be ironic, whatever, with Joey Saputo in the stands watching that, but yeah, I mean, it's still, I think it was well deserved. Joel Waterman, not sure if he deserves a clap. Anyways, that's my opinion.
He deserves a clap. He's been a vitally important part of the club post COVID. He deserves to get cheered. 100%.
Fair enough. Yes, he did have his good games, and he did save Montreal from a few games here and there. But anyways, like you said, it would have been nice to see a true all a Montrealer squad in the game. So let's go ahead and talk about the next game. Canada is playing Colombia in New Jersey. Colombia just finished beating Mexico 4-0. Yeah. What's that? What's that looking like? What are your thoughts on that game coming up?
I'm really excited because it's a completely different kind of opponent. It's going to be a
Oh, yeah.
much more open game. It's going to be a much more dynamic game. It's going to be a game that Montreal, that Canada is much more accustomed to playing and fits their style a lot more. The only problem is it fits Colombia style very well too. And Colombia is one of the best teams in the world when it's a run and gun kind of game and a very open kind of game. So this is a fantastic test on the defensive side of the ball to test just how counterproof your 4-4-2 is. Yeah, Robbie's saying they may be in trouble on Tuesday. Very well could be in trouble, right? If they lose, I wouldn't be surprised if they lost. What I'm looking for here is for them to kind of look for the cracks, right? So you play in a 4-4-2, you play in a very open 4-4-2 that leaves so much space in the middle of the field to be exploited, right? Ismael Kone and Nathan Saliba or Mathieu Chouanier or Steven Stacchio or God forbid Jonathan Osorio can only cover so much ground, right? And so you need other parts of the field to compensate for that, and that's when the cracks start to form, right? So now this is one of the best opportunities and one of the best teams to do it against to see, okay, how fireproof is this? And I'm going to be honest with you, with the games that I saw in Europe against Wales and against Romania, I'm not 100% convinced. I'm not. And again, I've had my concerns with the 4-4-2 since the first game that Jesse Marsh rolled it out. We are now like a year and a half in. I've come to terms with the fact that the 4-4-2 is going to be with at least a starting formation. I just hope that these games serve as learning experiences on how to tweak it so that you are less vulnerable in the middle of the field, because they are extremely open when they lose possession, especially when they lose possession like against one, like quickly, right? Intercepted pass or a bad touch and you're caught out, stuff like that. They are extremely vulnerable on the counterattack. That's how Australia scored their goal, was against the run play on the counter.
Yeah,
right?
and
So Colombia will murder you if you give them the chance on the counter. And so this is a very interesting test. I'm going to be watching, especially the back line and that midfield too. Those 6 players for me are going to be very telling with how this team does at the World Cup, because teams are going to open the game up. They're not going to play a low block against Canada. They're going to open the game up if they feel like they can hurt you. Because remember, the only time Australia actually had any good kind of run of play was when they opened the game up after the substitutions. Then they closed the block down again. But that was after they got what they needed, which is the goal. So if you show that you have leaks everywhere on your field, especially in defense, teams are going to try to exploit it.
That's one of the things that I felt. I saw, as much as you mentioned that you like Ismael Kone's play. I felt that in that against Australia, one of the things that I noticed was how open the midfield was and how it took Ismael Kone out of his game, because I don't think he's the kind of player that likes to run back and forth and be that box to box. I don't think he is. He's like more of a player that likes to be on ball and kind of spread the ball and kind of build play. And that kind of play that Australia did, again, where the midfield was very open, it didn't really fit. So it's going to be something interesting to see with Colombia, because Colombia, they're a team that plays really fast. They're a team that plays very intense, has extremely talented players. I've spoke about it in this show before. Every time Peru has played Colombia, they're a team that surprises. They can either show up one day and play really bad, or show up one day and play really well. And when they play well, as you see against Mexico, they play well, and they can literally eat you up really quick if you don't wake up. So this is going to be, for me, a huge bounce back game for Canada. I think they really need it. I think Jesse Marsh needs to find quickly the winning formula for this team again, because to me, Elias, and maybe you disagree or agree with me, but to me, one of the most important things, especially heading into the World Cup, such an important competition, is momentum. The momentum you feel in these victories, and the victories you feel in these games. I think it's not just for Canada, but any nation that is preparing for the World Cup. How do you think Mexico feels right now? If anybody's doing a podcast about Mexico and losing 0-4, when we're talking about momentum, the momentum is going the other way. So Canada wasn't such a big loss. It was 1-0. They still played really good football. There's still, maybe a lot of learning points that we talked about here. But the Colombia game has to be a bounce back. Are you happy with a tie? Because I need a victory for Colombia.
I don't care about the result. I don't.
Okay. Why?
I would much rather see how they play. Obviously, I want them to win. And if they lose, There's obviously more questions and more concerns than if they win, obviously. But my bigger concern is what I was talking about, was them shoring up the middle of the field. If they can do that and it ends in a 0-0 tie, or even if they lose 1-0 and they spend the entire game not giving Colombia an inch, again, a team like Colombia that can kill you so many different ways, then I'm happy. Then I'm maybe not happy. I am appeased. That's the word.
Yeah.
All right. If they win, obviously I'm thrilled. They beat the 13th ranked team in the world. 100%, deserve your credit for it. But my bigger concern is how they handle an opponent like Colombia.
Yeah, I think they need a win. I think they need a moral win, whatever you want to call it, like a really good game, competitive, and not being run over 4-0 when trying to play your game. So, very important game, in my opinion, for Canada men's national team coming up on Tuesday. I'm going to be tuned in. I think, yeah, I need to be
tuned in.
I need to be tuned in. What else am I doing on Tuesday? Nothing else. Forget it. Canceling it all.
Are the Habs playing? It's realistically the only reason people won't watch is if the Habs are playing.
They're literally
the Habs are. Oh yeah, it's actually the home opener for the Habs. So
God dang.
So people may not.
All right. Well, look. With that said, we're done with Canada men's national team for the day. That was a fun topic. I got a little bit emotional, a little bit too passionate, but we're gonna go ahead and move on and talk about the Rose.
Ask Marco Donadel. There's no such thing as too passionate. Also, can we take for a second, because we didn't talk about the ref, who was an absolute nightmare of a ref. Can you imagine what would happen if Marco Donadel was on the sideline for that game instead of Jesse Marsh?
He wouldn't get a yellow. He'd get a straight red.
He would have gotten like 3 red cards over the course of 90 minutes. We would have seen abuse of a fourth official, the likes of which has never been seen in the history of soccer. Just in the first 2 minutes, he would have lost his shit. That ref was a tragedy. We had a good time in the press box. We were taking the piss out of him in the press box. He was not a good ref.
I think Marco Donadel at some point will learn to just instead of exploding, he's just gonna stay quiet and look at the ref. Like that's there. Just look at him like.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks, Andy. He's going to lose his shit every time, as you should. I love me a coach that wears their heart on their sleeve. As a coach who wears their heart on their sleeve, I love a coach that wears their heart on their sleeve.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're not even talking about CF Montreal today, but somehow Marco Donadel made an appearance. But but yeah, no, it was I don't know. I don't like talking about refs, but every once in a while, if they were that bad, they get a shout out.
Refs. I love hating on refs.
Elias is the kind of person that in a game will clap for a ref. We like the call.
No, I would cuss the ref out in Greek.
We needed you. We needed you last Sunday. What was it, Saturday? The Greek. Oh
no, Fati was hilarious. But yes, that's the funniest thing. Is my brother's trying to get me to do referee evaluations during the summer, just because they're short on evaluators.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you realize how bad of an idea that would be? I would straight up just tell it you're a bad ref, quit. I hate refs too much.
I've seen better in MLS
to be able to actively give constructive criticism to a ref. Right? As a coach, I give constructive criticism, no problem. As an evaluator, I'll be like, retire. No.
Unfit.
I already don't fuck with refs like that. You're putting me in a position of power and criticism of a ref. I will be too mean. I cannot do it.
Man, chapeau to your brother, man, because I can only imagine that the career of a ref has to be brutal because you are literally
especially when
any sport,
especially when you have family who keeps on shitting on you for being a ref.
You go back home to get yelled at more than you did in the field.
They're sports cops. Nobody likes them.
Yeah, no, but it's all fun and games until it's not. But all right, so we're gonna move on to our next topic.
This is by no means an endorsement of verbal or physical abuse of an official, by the way. I need this to be said right now. If you are a coach or a player and in the heat of the game you say stuff, that's one thing, and you'll get punished for it accordingly. You'll get a yellow card or even a red card if you deserve it. You'll get punished accordingly. I've gotten punished for it repeatedly. This is by no means an excuse to go to your kid's U9 game and start yelling at a 13-year-old who's just learning how to ref. Right? Let's be clear. Okay. Refs deserve criticism when they become of legal age. That's fine. Do not go yelling at a kid and ruining their fucking life because your U7 team lost the game. It's not that deep, I promise.
You know what they need to do, Elias? If they're mad at the refs, they need to start a podcast about their U9 kids soccer team,
Absolutely.
so they can charge the ref.
No,
All
they need to
right.
bring a fourth official so they could terrorize that ref.
Imagine we have the fourth official in U9.
There's not even linesmen. There's just a random fourth official on the sideline.
It's hard, man. The one time I signed up for, I'm getting too tough. You see what you do? You see what you do? Now you're getting me riled up. I'm like, one time I did refing, I was pissed.
Back in my day.
All right. I've said it 3 times. We're gonna move on to the next topic. But before we move on, just a quick word from our sponsors. We'll be right back. Hello, the Ballers Rounders. This show is sponsored by AR Design. I can tell you that in my case, as you can see in my background, I need some change. This is why I reached out to, my wife reached out to Allison from AR Designs to bring some change in my space. You can't see it now, but over the next few weeks, this room is about to get a little funky with the way it looks. I thought Allison will come to my place and turn the place upside down right away. But before changing anything, she made sure to really understand what my vision was for our place and what budget we were working for. And based on that, she gave us some advice and some ideas as to what our place could look like in the future. And that's when we knew that we had reached out to the right person. Like a soccer team working together for the perfect goal, AR Interior Design coordinates every detail of your interior design project, so your home comes together beautifully. From concept to final touches, Allison makes sure every element works in harmony. Visit ardesign.ca today to see her latest interior design project, or follow the links that you see below me on her Instagram, email, or the website, or you can just find the links on the YouTube description. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, AR Design. Hello. And so we're back. So next up, we have Roses FC versus the Vancouver Rise, which they lost 0-1. Now, before we get into the lineups, Elias, and get into the game, one little thing. I had read that when Roses FC had made the first transfer in NSL to Vancouver Rise, there was a clause that had been added that said that Latif Abdou would not play against Montreal. This was an agreement that the two teams had with each other. Saturday comes around, midday. I see the starting lineup for both teams, and I see that Latif Abdou is starting. And I say, the BTF, what happened? So obviously I had questions, and it was a memo that I had missed during the week. And apparently the NSL had looked over the contract a few weeks after it had been signed and finalized, and she had joined the team, and they said you can't add that clause. They're not.
It is illegal.
It is whatever it is. It's just not allowed. It's not okay that you add that. But both teams agree on it, and so they took that clause out, which is why we saw Latif Abdou play on Saturday, and she was, by the way, she was on fire. She was actually playing really, really well. I don't know. We don't know, Elias, the conversations that went between Latif Abdou and Roses FC and why she left. There's still big mystery, at least to me. But I can tell you that Saturday, the way I saw her play, she was not a happy camper. She seemed very aggressive and very like she was playing with a chip on her shoulder that she really wanted to score. And she did have a few chances. But we're not here about to talk about Vancouver. I just wanted to bring that up. What did you think about that when you saw that, Elias? When you saw that?
I had no idea that was a thing. And if I had, immediately I would have said, there's no way this is being enforced. There's no way this is enforceable. That's insane, right? You don't have a non-compete in sports. That's not how that works. It's sports. Everyone plays against everyone.
They have it in college football, but between divisions. You get between divisions, they put that in transfer.
If that's baked into the rules, that's a difference. Like, this has never been a thing, right? And also, especially in such a small league, like, what do you mean I can't play against a quarter of my opposition?
Yeah,
or like a fifth of my opposition. That's insane. So yeah, I was surprised to hear that was a thing. If it's like a handshake agreement, like, hey, the next game we play against you, we won't use Latifa. Still very weird for me, but that's fine. To say that was put into the agreement, like as an actual clause, who thought this was a thing you could do?
Yeah.
I need to understand whose idea this was, because it's nonsense. That's just dumb. Like, you can't say like, actually you can't play against us. Like, no,
I
he's
mean,
leaving your
actually,
team.
I do think that it wasn't just an agreement. They're two new teams, and they're probably super excited to get the transfer done
Okay,
because
because the language is like, there was a clause in the agreement. A clause is a very like legal thing to say, right?
yeah,
It's not like our sous-entendu or like, an agreement, or that agreement is very informal. A clause is like a thing that was written down in paper, right?
yeah,
So I was like, what do you, who okayed this? Like, there,
yeah.
you have like, you're a pro club. I'm sure you have like a lawyer or something. They could have been like, no,
Look, I mean, whatever the handshake agreement was, if it
yeah,
was a
and
friendly
we'll never get
transaction,
the full story of this entire
but
thing.
she
Just
played
like,
90
whatever.
minutes. She did
She
not play
played
a
90
few
minutes, and
minutes.
she did play well. Again,
Yeah,
we did see a lot of the things that made Latifa Abdu the best player on the Roses. We also saw a lot of things that made Latifa Abdu a mildly frustrating element of the Roses, which is the
yeah.
lack of finish at times. But again, Latifa Abdu,
Incredible
when
player.
she's on, is unplayable, right?
Yeah,
And she had a lot of very good moments. Yeah, she was a hair away from scoring 2 or 3 goals, which is, what you expect from someone like her, especially in a game that open. But I think for the most part, what I love so much about this Vancouver team, I've watched a couple of their games, is how well everyone works together. It's like Latif Abdu, you expect such a big player, such a big name, such a big personality to come into this team. You wonder how it's going to fit like a glove. They fit perfectly. So I think it's taken them to arguably the best team in the league, I think, right now.
yeah.
It's very close between them and Toronto, but I think everyone operating at their best, it's very difficult to say I would pick any team over Vancouver right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Vancouver really came to Stade Boreal and they played their style. They played how they wanted to play around Montreal. They did have definitely a lot of opportunities that they missed. So I think, in my opinion, Vancouver honestly could have beat Rose FC a good 4-0, 3-0 because they did have their chances. They just couldn't
At the
finish it
same
right.
time, Roses could have won too, right?
Yeah, well, I mean,
I mean,
tough to say.
okay.
We'll break it down. We'll look into it a little bit more detail a little bit later, but they I'm just a little frustrated with what we're seeing right now as far as Rose FC because I feel like it is one phase, one thing, and if it doesn't work, then we have nowhere to turn to. Similar to defense, where teams are saying we're just going to stack up the right side, Haley Whitaker side, or whoever's on that right side, and we're just going to have fun with it because that side is open. That side is good to go. So I think there's a lot of you say like, oh, Roses could have won. Yeah, I mean they had their chances and they couldn't finish it, but it's becoming problematic now because injuries are piling up for Roses FC.
Yeah.
So with that said, let's go ahead and bring up the lineup of Saturday, and we're gonna go ahead and look at the players that we had. I know at goalie we had Madame Lambert. Then we had Stephanie Hill and Lucy Capadonna on the back line. Haley Whitaker on the right back, Ali Hess in midfield with Chloe Minas in the midfield as well. Charlotte Bibon on top, Laurie Thibault on the left side, Megan Sauvé again starting as the left back, Sharin Kang on the right wing, and Monyard as the 9, which is, I think, I might be wrong. This might be her second game or first game as a 9. I'm talking about Monyard. Yeah, no Tanya
As a
Boyd.
starter, I think it's like her second game.
Yeah, I think
She
very
played
early
one
on in
like a
the
couple
season.
weeks ago. Yeah, she played a
Was it
while
a
ago.
week? I thought it was at the beginning of the season, but anyways, doesn't it's not here there. But
No, she had that good substitute appearance
yeah,
against, oh geez, was it Toronto? At home. She played very well. She came as a sub. And then she started like the next game. But this is her first game as a lone striker.
yeah. No
Starting as a
Tanya
lone
Boy,
striker, this is her first game.
yeah, no Tanya Boychuk on the bench. Completely, I didn't like her performance last week, and I was saying maybe she needs a change. I said it on this show, and we see all the change, but I didn't think that she would not be even on the bench. Based on what I'm being told, it was kind of load management. She picked up a knock, but it's nothing serious. She should be back soon. But Noemi Paquin was also in the sideline. Um,
Yeah.
but she was again. I don't know the extent of her injury. I thought it was a lot bigger than that. I wanted to inform myself a
It's
little.
good news that she's at least on the bench, though.
Yeah, but she didn't play, so that's also a little worrisome to me.
Just the fact that she's there. Hopefully, she gets some minutes against Toronto just to see how if she's ready for playoffs.
Yeah.
Maybe even like 10 minutes, the last 10 minutes against Toronto. I think would be nice just to get like a litmus test of
Yeah.
if she's available to be selected. That already means that she's fit enough to at least be on the field. So I'd like to see her get like 10 minutes against Toronto on the last game of the season just to really put in a proper test drive.
Yeah, and I saw that Lara Schenk was also back on the bench, which
Huh?
is such important news. Somebody
And on the
else
field.
is somebody else was back on the bench was Karpenko, because as I mentioned earlier, Gabriel Lambert started. I liked her performance. I like Lambert's performance. Gives me a lot more security with the on ball. I don't think she was asked to distribute too much, but I thought she had some pretty good saves as well. I like her performance. I still don't understand why we're deploying Haley Whitaker as a right back. I do not like her performances. Elias, I've said it over and over again. I feel like teams have found that her side is very vulnerable, and she's shown that she's very vulnerable. I don't see a real understanding between her and Shadim Kang on that right side either when it's offensive. Um, Stephanie Hill, I saw Lucy Capadonna have a tough game this time. I saw her struggle a bit. I mean, it wasn't the worst game because I still think she's one of the best players on the field. I like Megan Sauvé's performance on the left back as always, but Megan Sauvé was actually moved up as Jodie Smith came in. She actually went up as a striker, and Jodie Smith also impressed me a little bit, but it was towards the last minutes. I think she
Yeah,
played good
she had like
defense.
10 minutes, not even 10 minutes. She had like
Yeah,
5 minutes.
but again, she's not the story, so that's always impressive. But I like her speech. She actually gave Megan Sauvé, I think it was Megan Sauvé or Claire Magnard, an opportunity on a free kick from Chloe Minas, which was really, really nice to see. But yeah, Stephanie Hill, can't say much about her. Didn't think she was that involved besides maybe short passing. But yeah, what were your thoughts on maybe the back line and goalkeeping, including some of the subs that came in?
The back line is honestly the most consistent thing about this team. For better or for worse, they have their moments where it's rough, but I can't really pick out any games in particular where they were completely overrun and they just had nothing. There were several moments against a team like this where it got a little bit dicey, like you said, right? Vancouver could have scored, 2 or 3 more goals, right? But I didn't think that they were completely overwhelmed. This team is still super vulnerable to the counterattack. One well placed ball in behind. That's how Abdul got one of her chances, right? Which is a beautiful ball in behind. A run, her touch around was too big. That's fine. That happens, right? But again, Montreal was caught out. Again, all it takes is a well timed run. Cabadona and Hill are not the quickest defenders in the world. So I do think that that is probably an area for concern, but I haven't seen them like any particular runs of play where I'm talking about for like 10, 15 minutes, they just have nothing and they're struggling and they're fighting for their lives. I haven't really seen that. And so that's a good thing, I guess. But the problem now is, if you're a team that's constantly chasing the game, you need your backline further and further up the field, which means you're now going to be susceptible, right? If they when was the last time they scored the first goal in a game? I can't remember the last time they scored first. If they score first, it completely changes the game. It changes the rhythm. It changes both teams' intentions. I feel like their game management is excellent. But the problem is they haven't had the chance to manage a game in so long. And that back line, or at least that back two of Capadona and Hill together are so good at managing traffic in front of them that when you're in a situation that you have to manage a game and you have to hold on to a lead or you have to just keep the other team at bay, they're well suited for it. But when they're actively the ones that have to start being, the pragmatic ones, the initiators, like in a game like this where, Vancouver scores, what it was like 15 minutes in, 10, 15 minutes in, and now they spend the rest of the game having to be on the front foot, having to be, a lot more forward facing, life gets a little bit difficult. So again, this is more a comment on the team as a whole. They have to score first. This team does not do well chasing the game.
I agree with you. I think that's Robbie Russell has made it very clear that his team is a lot more offensive and likes to play risky football. But in order for you to play that kind of risky football, you have, as you
You
said,
need to score.
you need to score. You need to score, and you need to score big so that you can go ahead and make it a entertaining game. I did want to point out, because we do talk about the subs here too. One player that really impressed me was Olivia Mbala, who came in, I believe, in the
Yeah, like
80th
the
minute.
80th minute or something. Yeah,
Yeah, I was thoroughly impressed. She played right back because Schenk actually went up in right winger. I'm not gonna say anything about Schenk because I've already said it ad nauseum here in this show. I absolutely think she's an excellent left back, right back, whichever position you put her. She is another level, and I
she just
think
has to
that
stay healthy.
she has to take over Haley Whitaker's role for the playoffs, in my opinion. Because right now
If
this
she
team,
if she can stay healthy, I completely agree with you.
as
If she can stay
as
healthy, 100%.
as much as we can talk about them needing to score, I think they need to solidify their back line, their defense, before they think about any opportunity. Now we're gonna get to the offense in a second, but I did want to go ahead and say how much I like Olivia. I find that she's very athletic, very physical, and she's impressively like I haven't. I think I've seen her only maybe one or two games in this year with the Rose FC, a few minutes here and there. But the little I saw of her, she impressed me a lot with her physicality and the way she handles
She was
herself with the ball. I think she reads the game really well. She understood herself really well with the midfielders. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. I was surprised because, like, again, we don't see her often. It's a name that I think came once. I think she was one of the last subs that came in. But yeah, very impressive. I hope we get to see more of her, especially since, in my opinion, Whitaker is struggling right now. Or if you want to put Whitaker on top and have her play right back, I think that could be very interesting for what is the last game of the season, right? Right, Liz, that's coming up.
yeah.
So last time we had two different answers for that, but just using two different apps. All right, let's get to the midfield where we had Chloe Mina, Chloe Minas,
Chloe Minette, yeah.
and we also had Ali Hess. Um, I thought I'm a big fan of Chloe Minas. I'm gonna say it straight up. I love
She
her.
played so well.
Yes,
She is exactly what that midfield needs. I love Felicia Roy. I love what she brings, but Chloe Menas brings the technicality and the ability to play in between lines that nobody else in the team brings. I feel like it makes Charlotte Bidbo's life in the number 10 much easier. I feel like Ali Hess doesn't have to do as much heavy. Neither of them, neither Bilbo or Hess have to do as much heavy lifting with the ball because she's now become the relay point, which is insane considering she wasn't even,
starter.
let alone a sub, let alone a starter. She wasn't even a substitute off the bench, right? She was an unused substitute for what, like half the season, more than half the season, right? And the fact that she just came on and like right away, she did not miss a beat, and she's breaking lines, she's turning people, she's getting the ball forward, she's progressing the ball. She has become a vital part of that midfield. And again, I don't know what the extent of her injury is.
Yeah.
I didn't understand what the injury was.
It looks like she pulled something. I saw the
Yeah, it
replay
looked like it
over
was
and
like
over
her
again.
calf or something.
The way she
I
held
was
her,
trying to
yeah,
watch it and like understand what was the like élément déclencheur of her getting hurt, and I didn't like. I'm not a physio, right? But my brain
yeah,
could not compute where in the clip she's getting hurt. And then it cuts to her just being carried off. I'm like, oh my god.
yeah,
But hopefully it's nothing too serious. Even if she doesn't play against Toronto, just to make sure she's ready for the playoffs. I hope that's the case because without them, I don't know how this team's going to function.
yeah.
Right?
And we,
Felicia was going to come in, and she's obviously a very capable replacement. But what I've seen from Chloe Minas is so good. And honestly, the midfield was the key to the game yesterday, right? The only way that Montreal had a chance was through this midfield because, again, I I have not been shy to say when I disagree with Robert Rosotoyu. Yesterday, he got the game as right as any coach could get the game. He nailed the tactics. He nailed the game plan. Every single time that Bibo or Minas got the ball and were able to find space in behind, they executed it perfectly, right? The only problem is the players are human and the players mess up sometimes, right? And that's exactly what happened. How many times they caught Vancouver out and they were on the counter, they were attacking with momentum because Charlotte Bibo or Chloe Minas found a fantastic ball in behind. Actually, Sauvé and Whitaker found a couple as well, but it was really in the middle of the field. Like once Minas got the turn, she would either find Bilbo or make the ball herself, and at least a half dozen times it was like a 2-on-1 or someone was played through on goal and it wasn't there. So I will give chapeau to Robert Rosotoyu. I think he did a fantastic job in preparing the game, at least going forward. And the midfield was, for me, the best part of the game yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, look, I agree with you to a certain extent. I don't agree with you that I think Rositoyu keeps playing Charlotte Bibo out of position. I don't like her being a 10. I don't think she's a natural 10. They were
Who's the 10? Who's the 10, Andy? Say
Minas.
it. No.
Who? Oh, you want to push that in? Yeah, you want to
Yes.
push that in. She had a few moments actually, and I really liked what she did. She had a few moments in the 10. Whatever.
I feel like I'm crazy
But
because I keep on begging for it, and then she steps in the middle for 5 seconds, and she's fantastic. I'm like,
she's so good. She's
I
so good.
can't be the only one seeing this. I'm not
Yeah,
crazy, right? Like
yeah,
she's
but
actually good there. Like
she would be I can totally see her being kind of like having that tendency, like Canadi Centric does for CF Montreal, where you put him as a 10, but naturally just goes like, I wanna like
you have to give her the chance to do it.
Yeah, I think they tried. They tried, but I really, really don't like. Look, yesterday there were certain moments where Charlotte Bibo actually was deep back to like that deep midfield position where she, because of transition or whatever, and the passes she makes. Oh my God, the passes that she makes from deep are elite. I've said it in this show a bunch of times.
They're fantastic.
Are elite.
They're fantastic.
But the moment she's in the 10 and she has to run and press, I just don't. She seems misplaced, and she doesn't seem like she's fit, like necessarily doing that role properly. So to me, it's an issue. It's an issue, and I think she's not being used properly, and this is becoming a liability to the team.
She's also 35 years old.
Right? Exactly, Elias, and that 35. To me is like that kind of intensity in the 10 that Robert Sotoyo asked from his 10. I don't know if he can ask a 35-year midfielder to do that. In my opinion, obviously,
not game in, game out for an hour or 90 minutes in her case, because she played the whole game, right? So not for the 90 minutes, definitely not.
Yeah, Ali Hess, I can't say much about her. I didn't think she impacted the game in a bad or good way. She did her job, and I'm very impressed. As we said last week, about the physicality that she's learned to use.
I'm just happy she's got consistency going. You know, these are consistent performances now.
Yeah, but Minas is next level. But it happened. It's the second time that it's happened in these past few weeks that we're talking about a player that is just playing lights out, and then they get hurt, and it's frustrating because they're just hitting form. And then all of a sudden and we don't know the extent, right? The same thing happened with Julia Leas. She was hitting form. She was doing really well. And then she was out for I don't know how long, 2-3 months, it felt like. The point being is Minas is a crucial part of that midfield. And so is Bilbo. Bilbo, I believe, needs to be involved, is being played in the wrong position. As far as the subs, I'm not too convinced on Felicia Ra. I think she's the capable in a situation
she's
of a game.
She's a good rotational player. I think she's a good squad player.
I think she's also situational in the sense if Roses FC are leading, I like her role there because I think she's a very defensive midfielder. But at the same time, like you said, they spent the whole game chasing. So I think they put Felicia Ra they took Ali Hess at halftime, right? They took her out at halftime, and that switch to me, Elias, messed me up. That messed me up right there. And I was like, what's happening? So then they also took out Sherin Kang. Am I wrong? No. They did take her out. Yeah, they took her out. But
Thibault came out first, right? Thibault came out first, and then Kang came out.
So let's talk about the forwards, okay? Before we talk about the subs. But I'm not too convinced about Laurie Thibault's performance. I do think that I'm not sure what exactly she brings to the attack. There were a lot of runs that she either mistimed them or she had no understanding with the midfielder, and it just ended up as a lost possession. Monyard, probably to me, in my opinion, had the worst night of all players. I think she had a lot of opportunities and she just didn't capitalize. There were a lot of times that I think I saw a stat in the television that it said that Montreal had over like 20 crosses and Vancouver had maybe 2 or 3, but there was nobody there. Now, I'm not saying this is all on Monyard. There's a bunch of attackers, but a lot of times you would see her outside the box. Just you're number 9. You're playing number 9. You need to be in there. That's my opinion. Again, she's been giving instructions by the coach, and that's why she was there. But to me, it just doesn't make any sense to have so many crosses go through the goal. Some nice crosses too, and just nobody there to finish it. So I thought as you said you like Rostoy's playing. I did not like what he did with the attack yesterday. I thought they were ineffective. I thought they had one solution.
I think that's down to the players, man.
I don't know, because I think that
like Claire Monod had a terrible game, right? We're in agreement on that. She did not play well. She was not. I don't think it's a coincidence that the best Claire Monod performances all came when she came off the bench.
Yeah,
I think she's much better suited to coming off the bench. And now the problem is, if it's not Tanya Boychuk, who is it?
Yeah, it
because
used to be
now
Latif Abdou.
Now you're in a pickle, right? So I think that, again, this is your first season. And the most important thing about this season is understanding what you need for your second year, right? The same thing happened with the Victoire and and you know, again, I don't always bring hockey into soccer discussions, but I feel like this is a good example, because what the Victoire did so well was their first season. Yeah, they were very good their first season, but they were even better their second season because they understood fundamentally, A, how this league works and what it takes to win in this league, but B, who in the roster needed to go and what needed to be brought in. So I hope that as much as they're working to win and make a run in the playoffs this year, they're putting even more work into identifying what profiles they need next season. Because yeah, you know, we can have our complaints, we can have our issues with parts of the field, of course. In their offices, they need to go, okay, this is what we need. This is the profile we need it for. This is what we need. And again, half the pitch, you need either depth or you need starting quality players. Because again, if you want to have, if you're looking at the standard that Toronto and Vancouver are setting, 3 or 4 players in your current best 11 aren't cutting it.
Yeah, that's true. And I think, honestly, when you're talking about next year, I think that they already showed us in their first transfer window that they kind of maybe changed the way they were looking for players, because they might have brought in other players, but the ones I remember the most that stood out that they brought in were Charim Kang, and they brought in Chloe Minas. Those are two players,
huge pickups.
And I think, again, that goes with maybe having sold the project differently. Maybe they changed their pitch. Maybe they looked at different profiles. God knows what changed. But those are 2 players that are impactful on the field. Chloe Minas, as you mentioned, came off the bench. Now she's a starter, and there is no way you can convince me that she can't be there for the playoffs. Like, she is such an important player. But yeah, I do feel that the attack fell flat. I think there was a maybe I didn't understand Claire Monard's runs. I didn't understand Laurie Thubault, what she was trying to do. I don't understand their game, Elias. And if it's not clear to me what their game is, then it becomes that much harder to evaluate a player, whether they're playing well or not, because you don't know if they're overthinking it or we're giving instructions that they don't understand. Like, it could be a million factors. It could also be that Vancouver just played really well defense and they just read Rose FC. But to me, it felt like on Saturday, I almost want to say Saturday night, but it was a midday game. Saturday, it's just, guys, get it to Charim Kang's side and she'll figure it out. And we'll figure it out from there. Like, that's all it was. At some point, it doesn't work anywhere else. We're just going to go one side. And that just doesn't work for a playoff team. A playoff team needs to have weapons. So Noémie Paquin, hopefully, cross our fingers, gets back in the field ASAP.
So needed.
Because that left side is disastrous right now, in my opinion. I mean, you don't have anybody. Megan Sauvé is not going. I don't think she needs to go back to left winger, in my opinion.
No, but it's bad when, you know, your left back is doing more offense than your left winger.
Yeah,
it's not great.
It's not pretty, and that's why, to me, yesterday's game is kind of it was kind of like an exclamation mark of what's been going on the past few weeks. Yes, I think they won 1 game 2-0. I forgot, against Calgary, maybe. I forgot Calgary,
now.
Yeah, but
that was a terrible Calgary game. The next game they lost 2-0, right? So
yeah, it was a bad game. It was a very bad game, and then Rose FC just stepped it up. But at the end of the day, there are still lingering problems. Even in that game, Elias, that they won, there were some lingering problems that you were looking at like, hey, this can't be okay. Hopefully they fix it, and they just don't seem to fix it. As you said, they're not a team that's built to come back from taking leads, right? So some last questions before we finish the Rose FC topic. As I mentioned, the Rose recent performances haven't been convincing. Do you think they're ready for the playoffs, Elias?
No. No.
Momentum.
Yeah. Momentum, man. Momentum, right? Noémie Paquin, question mark about whether or not she'll be fully fit. Chloe Minas, huge question mark about whether she'll be fully fit. Tanya Boychuk is load management and a knock. when does a knock become concerning, right? If she's on the bench against Toronto and gets 20 minutes or 30 minutes, fine, she'll be good for the playoffs. She's not even on the bench for Toronto. Now I'm 1,000,000,000% concerned because the way the standings are right now, first round, this is a preview for the first round of the playoffs. This is you're practicing, you're playing Toronto. If you finish fourth, you're playing Toronto on the road. This game right now is Toronto on the road. This is your semifinal. This is the amuse-bouche, right? So you have to show up ready, or you have to show up at least with, if you're not ready, you have the security knowing that you'll be ready for the playoffs. But by that, I mean Tanya Boychuk is not there, or Noemi Paquin is not there, or Chloe Minas is not there, right? You're doing that, you're going, it's okay, because they're going to get 5, 10, 20 minutes tonight, and then they'll be ready for playoffs. If two of the three, let alone three of the three, are not ready for the semifinals, I don't think it's looking that good.
Yeah.
I think it's particularly bleak, actually. So it's an entirely different situation. But are they ready for the playoffs right now? Hell no.
Yeah. And I think it's a big part of it. Like, Elias, to me, the question mark in the goalie position is one of the things that drives me crazy. And not just the goalie position.
I don't think it's a question mark anymore. I think Gabriel Lambert, it's her net.
No.
Right.
No. Okay, I asked Robert Rosatoyu, do you have a starting goalkeeper? He's like, yeah, Aina Carpecto. He told me that. So, I mean, if he considers her the starter, then Gabriel Lambert's game was a one-off. I mean, if Robert Rosatoyu chose to look at this Vancouver game as a one-off, where you're going to sub off Ali Hess at halftime and, not start Lara Shank, a healthy Lara Shank, like, there's so many things to me that are question marks. But what
I guess
can
we get a definitive answer next weekend.
Yeah.
We'll get a real answer on the 19th.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll be taking notes. What can Rosatoyu need to do to get? What can Rosatoyu need to do to get the team back in track?
Have everybody healthy. Heal everybody. By the grace of God, heal everybody. No, from a tactical perspective, again, we disagree maybe on how he prepared the offense. I think he prepared the offense very well for Vancouver specifically, right? The problem is you had the players not executing, right? Jerem Kang had a bunch of different moments where she got in behind, she was in a great spot, put in a great ball, and the finishing touch isn't there, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean you have to, if you're not going to have Tanya Boychuk and Noemi Paquin, does that mean you have to restructure how you're going to play against Toronto on Sunday? Yeah. Because, if you miss one or two chances, or if you miss one or two balls in behind and you miss the cross and the run isn't great, happens. But if it's 90 minutes of that, because it wasn't like two or three times, it happened every 5 minutes, right? There was a great ball played in behind, and then Thibault or Kang got onto the end of it, and then nothing happened, right? So this is now a systemic thing. This has to be addressed. So either you rethink what you're asking of your forwards and your midfielders, or you completely change their responsibilities.
Yeah, I think I agree with you in that sense that I believe that in this next game, so do something different. Maybe change the
We've been
speech.
asking to do that for that.
Change
they finally got out of the 4-4-2, Andy. Let's just be grateful they're not playing in a 4-4-2 anymore, okay?
Take your win. I don't know. Like, to me, it's about maybe not the formation itself, Elias. I'm more talking about like change the speech, change something, change the message. I don't know what's going on, but it feels like ever since they qualified for the playoffs, I said this in the press box, that ever since they've qualified for the playoffs, they've been kind of on a funk where they're not really, and I was at the post-game press conference against Calgary, and one of the Calgary players said, it just felt like we wanted it more than Roses FC. I mean, the other players said, and that to me, I was like, if a player is saying it, then clearly they saw something on the field that Roses FC just maybe are getting lazy or getting, I don't know what it may be.
Complacent.
But the complacent, there you go. But the message needs to change. That's what I'm saying. I'm not even talking about tactics. I'm not even talking about out here. Just the message needs to change. Something, maybe the players, the message isn't getting through. Maybe they've been saying the same thing over and over again. Now it happens to all of us, right? At a certain extent, this message repeating just becomes redundant and you just don't listen anymore. So I don't know. Something needs to change so that they can start having fun on the field again and try new things. Get Laurie Thibault to maybe play more of her game. Maybe get a Claire Magnard to play a different style. I don't know what it is, but clearly
maybe they should go karting.
They're on we brought it back. We brought 2024 back. Let's go. All right. So just to finish, we do like to ask a few hot take questions here, and we're gonna take it back to CF Montreal because they're playing next week. Decision day, baby. That's what's up. We should literally clip that right there. Elias like dying. We still have CF Montreal. But decision day next week. CF Montreal has their last game of the season next Saturday against Cincinnati FC. Anything you'll be watching out for during that game?
Shit.
Everybody.
Hopefully, Jaime scores a goal. I mean, look. The only you've guaranteed that you are not finishing last place. Bravo. Besides that, your next objective is finishing above Toronto, which means you need at least a point because you've got Toronto on tiebreakers. Now, let me see. Toronto, yeah, you've got Toronto on tiebreakers. So now all you have to do is just tie and then hope Toronto loses. Toronto is playing Orlando. They are likely going to lose, just like Montreal is likely going to lose. But all you need is a point, right? A point and you're home free. The problem here is you're playing Cincinnati on the road. I have my doubts. So what am I looking for? Them to have some fun? Fuck it. They could not. There's literally nothing at stake. Just go out there and have fun. Throw caution to the wind. Attack. Live your life. Be free. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that same thing goes to me for me, not so much for the players, but for Marco Danadell, because realistically, as of today, we have nothing confirmed about him. So that might actually be his last game as a CF Montreal coach. We don't know. We don't know what the future holds.
That's true.
But what is he going to do if it's his last game? Is he going to play? Is he going to coach them?
He's going to punch a ref.
He's going to, is he, or, you know, what is he going to do? Is he going to coach them up to win the game? Is he going to coach them up to, like, let's evaluate for next year? Or is he going to, you know, try to actually just go out with a bang as the last game of the season?
Realistically, and he kind of talked about it, he relocated his entire life here. Whether he's head coach or assistant coach, he's in this for the long haul, this project. So I think he's going to do what he's done all season, which is continue to prepare this team for next year. And you do that by putting out the best product you can and putting out the best combinations you can, but for players that will still be here next year. So I don't think anything's going to change. Realistically, I was talking about having fun and caution and all that stuff. Yeah. I don't think anything's really going to change from necessarily their lineup against Charlotte, which is their last game on the road. I think it's going to be pretty similar. And I think that's okay. I think that's all right.
Okay. I want the players to have fun. As far as the players go, I want them to just at least some of them might be the last time they wear the CF Montreal uniform.
What about this season is fun to you, Andy? What about this season has been fun?
Being in the press box. being in the press
on the
box,
field, Andy. Where is the find me the fun? Draw me a map to the fun.
The fun was once Thomas Juliet joined. I mean, look at it. Okay, we're not doing postmortem today. Okay, we're not. But think about it. You have to laugh, and you know what? That's going to be the title of our pod in the postmortem. You have to laugh, not to cry, because of everything that happened this season. You do. You just have to, because it was such a terrible, terrible season. So for the last game of the season, just enjoy yourself, have fun. Again, sounds cliche, sounds everybody's gonna say that, but the reality is that, like I said, it might be Marco Donatello's last season. You might be right. It might not be wrong. It might be his last game. It might be some of the players' last game with CF Montreal. Enjoy it, and it's not even in Montreal, but enjoy. You had your chance to say goodbye to Tatsupuro, and you royally fucked it. So, like, it's just you have to somehow find a way to enjoy that game. Last hot take of the show. Does Giacomo Vrioni play during the last game of the season? Fun.
Maybe we'll have to see what he does in training this week. Even if he is training with the team, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna risk getting hurt again when he's probably on his way out.
Forget him. I think the team is not gonna want to risk his injury anymore. They're just.
Well, I mean, look, if Prince Wusu's still not 100% fit, Olmgren Roche still isn't 100% fit, I think they're gonna pick Jack Morfuni over like Sunusi Ibrahim maybe. But again, yeah, Robbie. I get it. Sometimes it's still like. Actually, I forget. I remember which journalist it was, but we were at practice a couple weeks ago. Yeah, and they go, "Who is that?" To a guy training on his own, Vrioni. Like, oh yeah, it's someone who's not on the beat often, but it was just like very indicative.
I remember that moment. Yeah, no, it's so I don't think he's gonna play. I think the team has given up on him. In all honesty, I think he's given up on the team. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, it would have been nice to see him at least play one goodbye, so we can say goodbye to Giacomo Vrioni and everything he's contributed to this team.
So long, farewell.
And with Elias singing, we're going to end the show. So thank you to everyone who joined us today. We hope you enjoyed tonight's show. As always, the podcast will always be free to listen and watch on all of our platforms. Make sure to check out our Patreon page for exclusive member content and all of our social media platforms for more content. Follow my account as well as Elias' account for daily updates. We are everywhere. We're on Blue Sky, X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere. Big shout out to all of you who joined the Patreon this week and any other of our platforms. And thank you again for all of you who tuned in tonight. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your families. And see you next week for episode 243 of The Ball is Round.